Have you ever stopped to wonder what true compassion looks like? Not the fleeting moments of pity or the token gestures we sometimes make to feel better about ourselves, but the kind of deep, selfless care that transforms lives. Let me tell you a story that resonates through the ages, a story that isn't just a tale from ancient times, but a blueprint for how we should live today. The Buddha's visit to the monastery. It was a peaceful day, much like any other, when the Buddha visited a certain monastery. As he strolled through the grounds, he encountered a sound that pierced the calm, a moan of pain, raw and unmistakable. His footsteps quickened, his heart already attuned to the suffering he knew lay ahead. Following the cries, he arrived at a small, dimly lit room. Inside, he found a monk lying on a soiled bed, his body ravaged by a severe skin disease. Blood and discharge covered him, and the stench of neglect filled the air. The sight was heartbreaking. The monk had been left alone, abandoned in his suffering by those who were supposed to be his brothers in faith. But where others saw despair, the Buddha saw an opportunity to teach one of life's greatest lessons. Without hesitation, the Buddha called upon the other monks and instructed them to prepare hot water and set up a bed outside in the open air. His voice was calm but firm, leaving no room for inaction. Out of sheer compassion, the Buddha himself carried the sick monk outdoors. Imagine this. The spiritual teacher of countless followers, revered across the land, kneeling to tend to a single sick individual. He bathed the monk with care, washing away the blood and filth. He cleaned the wounds, applying medicine with gentle hands. The old, soiled robes were replaced with fresh ones. As the monk began to feel more comfortable, his cries softened, his suffering momentarily eased by the Buddha's loving attention. This wasn't just an act of kindness. It was a living demonstration of the principles the Buddha had devoted his life to teaching. After the monk was settled and his immediate needs met, the Buddha gathered the other monks. What followed was a teaching moment that has echoed through centuries. "Dear monks," he began, his voice steady and filled with resolve, "when someone is sick, it is your duty to help. When someone is physically or mentally down, you must care for them. This body of ours will not last forever. Once the consciousness leaves it, it becomes like a piece of rotten wood, useless. While we are alive, we must support each other." The Buddha's words carried a profound truth. In the transient nature of life, where nothing is permanent, our shared humanity and compassion are what give life meaning. He reminded the monks that caring for the sick is not just an obligation but an act of deep spiritual significance. To treat the sick, he explained, is like treating the Buddha himself. This story is not just a lesson for monks in a monastery. It's a wake-up call for all of us. How often do we turn a blind eye to suffering because it's inconvenient? How often do we justify our inaction with excuses like, "It's not my responsibility," or "Someone else will take care of it"? The Buddha's actions remind us that life is fragile. Our bodies, no matter how strong or healthy they may seem, are impermanent vessels. Illness and pain can strike anyone at any time. When we recognize this, it becomes clear that our time on earth is an opportunity, a chance to extend kindness, to ease suffering, and to make the lives of others a little brighter. Let's bring this lesson into our own lives. Imagine you're walking down the street and see someone in need. A homeless person shivering in the cold, an elderly neighbor struggling with groceries, or even a colleague overwhelmed with stress. What do? Do you keep walking, telling yourself it's not your problem? Or do you take a moment to help, to show a bit of compassion? Consider this. When you help someone, you're not just easing their burden. You're creating a ripple effect. Your act of kindness can inspire others to do the same. A small act, a warm meal, a kind word, or even a listening ear can transform someone's day and sometimes their entire life. Take the story of Clara Barton, the founder of the American Red Cross. During the Civil War, she risked her life to tend to wounded soldiers on the battlefield. She didn't see herself as a hero. She simply saw people in need and did what she could to help. Her compassion not only saved countless lives, but also set an example for generations to come. Now, think about the people in your own life who have shown you kindness in moments of despair. Maybe it was a teacher who believed in you when no one else did, or a friend who stayed by your side during a tough time. These acts of compassion are the threads that bind us together, creating a tapestry of humanity that is beautiful precisely because it is built on care and empathy. As the Buddha said, the world is filled with negativity and selfishness. But it doesn't have to stay that way. Each of us has the power to bring light into the darkness, to be the kind, generous, and soft-hearted people this world desperately needs. So, let me ask you, what kind of person do you want to be? The one who walks away, or the one who steps forward? The choice is yours, but remember, the impact of your actions can be profound. If you found inspiration in this story and want to explore more timeless teachings like this, consider subscribing to our channel, Buddhism in Modern Life. Together, we can uncover ancient wisdom and bring it into our daily lives to create a world that is kinder, more compassionate, and deeply connected. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and join our growing community. The story of the Buddha and the sick monk is just the beginning. In the next part, we'll delve deeper into the profound teachings that arise from this story, exploring how we can embody these lessons in our modern lives and build a community rooted in love and care. Stay tuned, and let's continue this journey together. In the first part of this story, we explored the profound compassion demonstrated by the Buddha and his call for shared responsibility in caring for one another. But the story doesn't end with tending to the sick monk or offering words of wisdom to the monastery. It's a story that invites us to dig deeper into the human experience, to reflect on how these teachings can shape not only our individual lives, but also the broader world we live in. Let's pick up where we left off, diving into the transformative power of kindness and what it truly means to embody compassion. One of the most beautiful aspects of compassion is how it spreads. When the Buddha cared for the sick monk, he didn't just heal a body. He set an example that inspired others. Those monks, once indifferent to their brother's suffering, now had a living demonstration of what it meant to live in alignment with the Dharma. Let's consider the modern implications. Imagine someone witnesses an act of kindness, like a stranger paying for another's meal at a cafe. That simple gesture often sparks a chain reaction. Studies have shown that witnessing kindness increases the likelihood of someone paying it forward. This ripple effect can turn a single act into a movement, touching lives far beyond what the original person could have imagined. In 2017, during a snowstorm in Chicago, a young woman's car broke down on the highway. Stranded and freezing, she feared the worst. But then a man stopped to help, offering her a warm jacket and staying with her until help arrived. Moved by his generosity, she wrote about the encounter on social media, encouraging others to do something kind for a stranger. Her post went viral, and within days, countless people began sharing their own acts of kindness, buying coffee for strangers, helping neighbors shovel snow, and more. The Buddha's teaching wasn't just about physical care. It was about cultivating a mindset of empathy that extends beyond oneself. What would happen if we made kindness a daily practice? The world might not change overnight, but the ripple effect would be undeniable. There's a common misconception that kindness is a sign of weakness. In a society that often glorifies self-interest and competition, compassion can be seen as naive or impractical. But the Buddha's story reveals the opposite. Compassion is a profound source of strength. Imagine the courage it took for the Buddha to step into that sick monk's room, to face the filth and suffering head-on. It would have been easier to turn away, as others had done, but true strength lies in confronting discomfort, in doing what is right even when it's difficult. If we're honest with ourselves, many of us struggle with compassion not because we lack empathy, but because we're afraid. We're afraid of getting involved, of being overwhelmed by someone else's pain, or of making ourselves vulnerable. The Buddha's example teaches us that these fears can be overcome. How can we take that first step? 1. Start small. You don't need to perform grand gestures to make a difference. Smile at a stranger, hold the door open, or offer a kind word to someone who seems down. 2. Practice presence. Often, the greatest gift we can give is our full attention. Listen deeply when someone shares their struggles without rushing to offer solutions. 3. Challenge indifference. When you notice yourself feeling apathetic or detached, pause and reflect. What's holding you back from extending care? Awareness is the first step toward change. The Buddha's reminder that the body is impermanent is not meant to evoke fear, but to inspire action. When we recognize that our time on earth is limited, we begin to see every moment as an opportunity to connect, to help, and to love. This perspective transforms even mundane interactions into sacred opportunities. Consider a scenario. You're in line at the grocery store, and the person ahead of you is struggling to find enough cash to pay. It's easy to feel annoyed or impatient, but what if you pause to see the situation differently? What if you viewed that moment as a fleeting chance to make someone's day a little brighter? The Buddha's teachings extend beyond individual acts of kindness. They call for a collective transformation. Imagine a community where everyone looks out for one another, where no one feels abandoned in their time of need. This isn't just a utopian dream. It's a vision that has been realized in various forms throughout history. During the COVID-19 pandemic, mutual aid networks emerged around the globe. In neighborhoods and cities, people came together to deliver groceries to the elderly, share resources with struggling families, and offer emotional support to those isolated by quarantine. These grassroots efforts demonstrated that even in the face of unprecedented challenges, communities could rise above fear and division to embody compassion. The Buddha's story serves as a timeless reminder that we are stronger together. When we care for one another, we create a safety net that uplifts everyone, especially the most vulnerable among us. The Buddha's actions also hold lessons for leaders. Whether you're leading a family, a team at work, or an entire organization, the way you treat others sets the tone for the environment you create. Take Jacinda Ardern, the former Prime Minister of New Zealand, as an example. Her empathetic response to crises, from the Christchurch mosque shootings to the pandemic, earned her global admiration. She led with both strength and compassion, proving that kindness is not a liability but a powerful tool for building trust and unity. When the Buddha said that caring for the sick is like caring for the Buddha himself, he was pointing to a deeper truth. Every act of compassion is an act of reverence for the divine within others. This idea isn't limited to Buddhism. It resonates across cultures and religions. In Christianity, the concept of serving the least of these echoes the same sentiment. In Hinduism, the idea of seva, selfless service, reminds us that helping others is a sacred duty. These teachings remind us that compassion is a universal language, one that transcends boundaries and unites us all. As we bring this journey to a close, let's take a moment to reflect. When your time on this earth comes to an end, what do you want to be remembered for? Your possessions? Your accomplishments? Or the lives you touch through your kindness and compassion? The Buddha's story of the sick monk is more than an ancient tale. It's a mirror reflecting our own potential for goodness. It challenges us to look beyond ourselves, to see the suffering around us, and to respond with courage and care. The world is full of opportunities to make a difference. Whether it's volunteering at a shelter, checking in on a lonely neighbor, or simply treating everyone you meet with respect and kindness, every action counts. Let's take the Buddha's lesson to heart and strive to create a world where no one is left to suffer alone. If this story has inspired you, don't let it stop here. Share it with someone who might need a reminder of the power of compassion. And if you want to dive deeper into the teachings of Buddhism and how they apply to modern life, subscribe to our channel, Buddhism in Modern Life. Together, we can explore the wisdom of the ages and build a brighter, more compassionate future. May all beings be well, happy, and at peace.